Okay, we're going to move to the new application called Microsoft Excel. We use Excel when we're doing quantitative analysis, meaning when we're going to work with numbers. And then it represents reports quite beautifully. So it's green in color. And then our Excel looks like that. So this looks different from Word, but the only difference is that now we're going to work in cells rather than just one big blank page. And then you will see, just look at every time when I move my mouse cursor, there's a big white plus, okay? That is an insertion point. So when I say select, or when I'm talking about a selection, you select something in Excel while the mouse cursor is still that white plus. But as soon as you're going to do some copy and paste, be it copying some text, or you're copying a formula or some referenced formula as well. So you're going to make use of what we call a fill handle. You will notice that this area, cell C4, is surrounded by that green line, but at the bottom right-hand corner, there is a solid square. You see that solid square, right? That solid square, we call it a fill handle. If I move my insertion point or my mouse cursor to that solid square, the mouse cursor changes from a white plus to a black plus. Do you notice that? So that means I can do an auto fill. So when you have a black plus, you know that you are on a fill handle. If I left click hold, let's say I want to copy that number 2 down to C9, then you'll see that I've copied and pasted that cell everywhere. So just remember the white one, you'll be able to just select anything. I can do this selection, but as soon as I do a fill handle, then it takes 2 everywhere. So just remember, selection and doing a fill and autofill are 2 completely different things. You will be able to fill while your mouse cursor is still a white plus. You will, or select while your mouse cursor is still a white plus, but you will be able to do an autofill when a mouse cursor is on a fill handle and then it turns black. And then on the column width or the row height, you'll see when I put my mouse cursor there, it's a black plus again, but now it either has arrows left and right for the column. If I go to the rows, then there are arrows pointing up and down. Okay, that means I can just now drag this to the left in terms of resizing the width or the height of my rows. Okay, so on the video, Camtasia didn't capture the mouse cursor's GUI, but you will hear it in the video. Just remember, we're using a white plus to select, and then we're using a black one, which will turn to that when we get to an autofill. The fill square that is on the bottom right-hand corner of a cell, we call it a fill handle, and that will do an automatic fill. Now we're clear on that. All right, so the area on top, we still refer to it as a ribbon. File will still take us to File Backstage View, and then so far everything that's there, it's similar. You'll remember that in the Info tab, we could change file properties. They still remain the same, nothing changes. Same story as in Word, it's going to be the same story when we're doing PowerPoint. And then we can still save as. So if we were required to save this maybe somewhere on T drive as, let's say, project 1A. Let's name this project 1A. So just remember, when you save as, for in case if you've forgotten already, on the question, this question will say save the file as project 1a.xlsx, but that file extension, it's not for you to type. Always remember that, right? Then you're not going to type that part in. You will notice that Windows does recognize that it's an Excel workbook with that file extension, and then you say save. You will notice that the file name does have the file extension. Just always remember, when you get it on a question, you don't type in the file extension with saving as. Okay, so that's what we learned from the File Backstage View. Home tab, your copies and paste format painter still works the same way. Font formatting, you will see that there's something new now, the merging and centering as well as wrap text. We now have number, we have some styles that we're going to do, and then the cells there. And then this is new also. What we've done inside Word was find and replace. That still works the same way. You can still find all the words or a certain word and replace it with another word and say replace all. It works the same way when we did it in Word, and then it will work the same way when we do in PowerPoint. So I'm not going to repeat it in Excel. Okay. And then the insert tab, you can still insert pictures, same story. Online pictures, same story. We're going to do this when we get to PowerPoint. And then that is for advanced Excel. We're not going to get to that part. And then header and footer, still same story. So if you are required to insert a header and footer, it just looks different because now you are not working in Word. You can insert a header there, scroll down. I'm trying to get to the footer. There's the footer section, and then you can insert, and then all the pages will have that footer. Okay, and then we won't see anything on print preview because we haven't typed anything. But if you have typed something in the footer, you will see it on a printout. But you will need to remember, if you want to work now on Excel, just to go back and say view, and then go back to the normal view. That's how you escape header and footer. You remember in Word, you could escape it by just double clicking outside the footer. Okay. Now you would have to remember to say view normal to go back to a normal view. Otherwise, it still works the same as in Word. All right. And then in the formulas, the only thing we're going to do in the formulas, we're not going to do logics and stuff. We're going to do the functions. And with the functions for your syllabus, we are limited to sum, average, maximum, as well as a minimum. But I won't get to that point because we do have that auto sum functions on the home tab. Okay. Since with Excel, with your syllabus, we're going to work mostly from the home tab, we can just use that one there. It's the same one we just got from the formulas. Okay. And then review. Still spelling and thesaurus, same story. Nothing has changed. Okay, so let's start working now. So what's new again is these cells here. We call those cells the blocks. It's not Word anymore. We are now working with cells. It's an Excel. So this thing, we call it a workbook. And a workbook consists of different sheets. On Word, we had a document which would have different pages. So we can have sheet 1. Let's type in A in sheet 1, and then we can also have sheet 2. Okay, to add a sheet, you just click on the plus there, and then we can type B there. So we can move from one sheet to the next. So just remember, all the sheets together, no matter how many you have, all of them together, we refer to the whole thing as a workbook. And then this workbook has different sheets. So this is a worksheet. Okay. And then we have what we call a name box. A name box references, it tells you which cell you are in. You will see now in that name box we have G7. So that means I am on cell G7. That G, we refer to it as a column. We have column A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. So if I go to that cell, that means I'm on column G, and then number 5 represents a row. So we have column G, row 5, and this cell is made out of column G, row 5. It's called G5. So it's very important that you know how to name these cells because that's how they're going to appear on your questions. You will be told where to do what in which worksheet on which cell. Okay, so just don't get lost. Okay, you can also, let's say I want you to do something in O11. If you don't want to go and click inside O11, you can type it in there, O11. When you say enter, then it will throw you inside cell O11. And then here we have what we call a formula bar. A formula bar will show you what we have typed. Okay, you'll see that the activated cell is O11. If now I type that it shows in the activated cell. And then if I go on B6, which has A typed in, you will also see it on the formula bar. So you can type on the cell, or you can select a cell and type from the formula bar. It won't make a difference. And then you will notice with Word here, we had the icons that would show you whether you're having spelling or grammar errors. That feature is no longer there. So that means you have to be careful when you work into Excel in terms of always remembering to do your spell check, because it won't give you a warning, just like in Word you see that immediately will see that some words are underlined in red and some in blue. So that feature disappears in Excel. Okay, so we're going to start working. Okay, so we've saved this. So I'm going to insert some data. In A1, I'm going to type in GI marketing. And then if you press tab in the keyboard, it just takes you to the cell on the right-hand side. But if I'm on A1 and I press enter, it takes me to the cell underneath. So that's where I wanted to go. And then we are now on A2. And then there I am going to type in fourth quarter. Okay, I am on A2. We just typed sales person commission, enter twice to get to A4, and then I'm going to enter the name of cities. So for now, I'm just entering data. Just remember to go to the cell underneath. I'm pressing enter. Tab will take me to the one that is on the right-hand side. And then now I'm going to go to cell B3. There's B and 3. So that means it's this cell over here. Remember, you can always be sure where you are, because as soon as you click on a certain cell, the name box shows you where you are. Okay, so in B3, we're going to type in October. So after typing in October, we're going to make use of what we call a fill handle. Excel is programmed in a very smart way. It knows a lot of things. It's a very smart application. So it pre-knows some of the things like months. It knows the days of the week. It knows certain numbers. So since it knows the month names, it knows that after October will come November. After November, it will come December. So there's no need for me now to go to C3 and type in November and go to D3 and type in December. So what I'm going to make use of is what we call an autofill. I'm going to ask Excel to automatically fill in C3 and D3 for me with November and December. How do we get to do that? You will see that when I am on that active cell B3, the mouse cursor is a white plus. So that just allows me to select, okay? And then now we're going to make use of what we call a fill handle. You will see that on that active cell, on the right bottom corner, there's a little square, a little fill square. Notice that when I go to that little square, the mouse cursor is going to change from that white plus to a black plus. You see that, right? So that's how you know that you are on the fill handle. So now I'm going to left click once and then hold. Then I'm going to drag this to C3. You'll see that it notices that after October comes November. And then I'm going to go to D3. It notices, it knows again after November comes December. So that's a shorter way of filling certain things that it already knows. Does it know Monday, Tuesday? Let's check. Monday. Okay. So Excel, again, it was programmed, it was told after Monday comes Tuesday. So there's no need for me now to go type Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday up to Sunday. To save time, what am I going to do? We are auto-filling the cells that we want, right? By making use of what we call a fill handle, okay? So remember, we are filling certain cells and then we are grabbing that handle. So it's called a fill handle. So tell me if I've gotten to a fill handle. Am I on a fill handle now? Now? No. Why? The mouse cursor just changed. It's not with arrows, right? Remember, with arrows, that means I can resize. I can make it smaller or bigger, sorry. And now I am on the fill handle, right? It's that solid square on the right bottom corner. So I'm going to left click, hold once, and I will drag down. So just notice that it knows all the days of the week. So there's no need when you're working with Excel to be typing things that it already knows. And then with numbers, if now I go, let me just delete this. Okay. If I type 1 and then I type 2, I just created a pattern of multiples of 1s. So what if I want to type up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20, waste of time again. I just showed Excel I want a pattern of 1, 2, so it will know that it's multiples of 1, just 2 numbers, it's enough, right? And then it's going to fill in the rest, okay? And then I can change that pattern. Let's make it, say maybe, okay, we can select this. With selection now, I might as well talk about that. So remember, this is copy and paste. You'll notice now when I'm on cell H5 and I use a fill handle, what's going to happen. So a lot of students make that mistake when you want them to select a range of cells. So you want to select H5 to H20. But if you use a fill handle to do that, it just copies and pastes 2 everywhere. So it's just a copy and paste. But remember when I did it with 1 and 2, then it knew, okay, it's 1, 2, then there has to be 3. Okay, so I'm going to select now. How do I go about selecting range of cells? You go to H5 while the plus is still white, you left click and hold, and then you drag. So now I just selected a range of cells. This range of cells, we would refer to it as H5 semicolon H21. Okay, so that's how you're going to see it on the questions. And then I can delete on the keyboard. Okay, let's select that again. What if now I struggle to select? You can make use of what we call this a name box. So I can tell it, please select for me H5 up to, that is the semicolon, it means up to. All the cells from H5 to H21. If you say enter, then it selects that range for you. Okay, just remember again, selection and using a fill handle, 2 different things. Okay, so you will see some of you when you start with the practical next week, you're gonna start messing up your Excel numbers. You'll see Monday everywhere, number 2 everywhere. Then remember you used a fill handle, you didn't select a range of cells. Okay, so let's go back. I'm going to do 3, 6. And then I'm going to select H5 and H6. So I wanted to do 3, 6, 9. So that means now it's not a selection, right? I just selected. I'm now going to make use of a fill handle. I've selected both of them because I wanted to recognize that pattern 3, 6, 9. If I just do it from a 3, it's just going to copy and paste 3 everywhere. So if I go and do this, then it's going to be 3, 6, 9, 12. So this is also going to help us a lot when we're doing calculations, and then we just want to copy a similar calculation all over. Okay, so we just did October, November, December with an auto fill. And then now I have to adjust the column width of column A. Why would I need to do that? Okay, let's say in B3 I type 1, in B2 I'm going to type 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice that it's New Jersey in here, but the whole thing is not visible. The Y part has disappeared, and then the monthly total, I can't see the auto part. It doesn't mean that it's been deleted or it's not there. It just means that the text width is smaller than the cell width. So for me to make it visible so that I can see it, I need to adjust column A and then make the width look bigger. Okay, how do I go about doing that? You will see that there's a border line between A and B. If I position my insertion point there, I'm going to get two arrows. There's one pointing to the left and the other one pointing to the right. So that means I can either decrease this by going to the left or increase by going to the right. Okay, let's make it how many pixels? 100 pixels, and see if everything will be visible. Left click, hold. You will see now we are on 80 pixels. I'm just going to drag until 100, but I don't think 100 is enough. Let's make it 110 maybe. You will get a question like that on your practicals and tests, and there everything is visible: New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Virginia, as well as monthly total. Okay, you are also able to set a predefined value on the home tab. If you go to cells on the format, you can change the column width there and then type it in. Let's make it a 15, it's just gonna look bigger, and then we just increase that column width. Okay, so with the question I can tell you in terms of pixels. Obviously you won't know pixels in terms of converting them to centimeters, but as soon as I refer to centimeters, you can go and enter it from there. That would be a predefined value. And this, what I just did with a column, you can also do with a row. Make it look bigger or smaller. All right, so we're now going to select range of cells B3 to D3. Where's B3? There's B3. I want to select up to D3. So remember, I'm not going to do that by making use of a fill handle. I am selecting, I'm not doing an autofill. Two different things. So while your mouse cursor is still white, left click, hold, and then drag to B3. If you struggle with that, how will we do that? You go in your name box and you tell it, please select for me B3, notice the semicolon, up to D3, and you say enter, and then they would have been selected. So we're just going to bold and center that. Still works the same way as in Word. All right, and then in B4, I'm going to type in some values now. So now we're going to do calculations. Okay, very, very important. You can calculate the total of something in two ways. It's either by making use of a function or by constructing a formula. Don't take out a calculator now. So the question says, calculate the total of the October sales. You don't take out a calculator and start putting in that number plus that one plus that one. Remember, Excel is a calculator, an advanced one. It's even smarter than the calculator you'll be taking out, okay? But now, so someone will take out a calculator, add them up, and type the value in there. Not necessary. So in Excel, in B8, we're going to calculate the total for October. As soon as you press equal sign in Excel, it knows that you're about to reference some cell or you're going to perform a calculation. Now we're clear on that. Equal sign, already it knows you're no longer just typing in cell, you're going to perform some calculations or you're referencing cells. So now you can go and say 25696.63 plus 13646.37, and then you can say enter. It will give you the total. I didn't type all of them because that's a longer way of doing it. Okay, that is seriously a long way. We don't type in the values. Remember, we said this is a highly smart programmed software or application. So what we can do is to say, Excel, please put in or insert the value in B4. So if I say equal sign B4, it knows, you'll see that it has highlighted B4. It does know that in B4 there's 25696.63. So there's no need for me to be typing in that value. So we're always going to reference cells. So we just reference the cell B4 Excel knows what's inside that cell. Are we clear on that? And then remember, I did this by typing it. That was another long way again. We can say plus. With B5, there's no need for me to type B5. I just go and click B5 and it types it in for me. Plus, click B6, it types it in. Plus, click on B7 and then it types it in. That is much quicker than typing in some values or referencing the cells by typing them in. And then we can say enter. Okay. And then now, what do you think is going to happen when I fill handle that? Do you think Excel is smart enough to notice, okay, when you get to C5, please add C4 plus C5, C6, C7? Yes, it's going to recognize that pattern, okay? So when we use a fill handle, and then I go there, it did, okay, up to them. When you get there, you'll see that it took this plus that plus that plus that. When we got there, it took D4 plus D5 plus D6 plus a D7. But what if the question said do this by a use of a sum function? Okay, you will notice, okay, let's do it in this cell. So with a cell function, it's exactly the same answer. It's still going to add things. But remember here, it was construct a formula. So if I say find the total by making use of a function, you know that's a sum function. Okay, so you can type in that equal sign and type sum. When you see sum, double click on it, and then now you can go select. I want the sum of B4, B5, B6, and B7. So remember, it knows between B4 and B7, it's B5 and B6. So if I say enter, notice that the answer is the same. But with that one, we constructed a formula. With this one, we used a function. So with the function, I will always tell you, do this by constructing a formula, or do this by inserting a formula, by making use of a function. Are we clear on that? And then you can still handle that same story. So notice the difference, function, and this one, formula. Okay, let's do an average. I'm just going to get it from there. Remember, I said equal sign and then I typed it out. Alternatively, you can go and get it from here. We're going to find an average, okay? We say average, but notice when you do that, it pre-selects some things for you. I don't want an average including those two cells there. I just want an average from B4 to B7, excluding that. Okay, so when you use that, it will automatically just select a certain cells for you. So if you decide to do it that way, it is your job to check if Excel selected the correct cells for you, a range of cells. Okay, so if I say enter and then I get an average, that's a function. How would I do this? With a calculation, constructing a formula, we know that an average will be this, plus this, plus this, plus that. It's only 4 of them, right? Close it, and then divide that by, how many numbers did we add in? 4. Same answer, but this was a constructed formula and that was, we used a function. Do you get the difference between constructing a formula and making use of a function? Okay, and then how do we tell in Excel that we're going to reference a certain cell or we're going to perform a calculation? What do you start typing first? Equal sign. Okay, so I can actually, let me just delete this. I can say equal sign. I want in that D21 the value in B3. Equal sign allows me to reference as well. If I say B3 and I say enter, it's going to put October in there. Okay, it just takes that equal sign, just knows, okay, get for me that value in B3. And just remember, you can just go and say equal sign and click right there. You don't even have to type it in. Okay. So we just did that. So next we're going to mesh and center. Okay. So I want the GI marketing to be my title, but I want it to be meshed across column D. So what do I have to do first? Select A1, B1, C1, and D1. And it's on the alignment. Then I can do mesh and center. To make it look attractive, I can play around with colors as I want. but now you have some predefined cell styles. So I'm just going to open all the cell styles and use title. Just gives me Calibri Light and size 18. And then with this one, I'm going to measure and center this as well. And then this one, I think I will go with heading style 1. And then not everything is visible. November, not so nice. So what I'm going to do next now is increase the column width of B, C, and D. I don't have to do this one by one. Okay, let's decide that we want the column width, all of them to be 12. I'm going to now select B, C, D, letters B. Left click, hold, C, D. So all of them are selected. I can right click. Remember that format, column width. I don't have to go that far. I can just right click while I'm in there and I'll get the column width from there. It doesn't matter whether you're doing it from a right click or you're getting it from the format. Let's make it 12 and then say equal. Okay, so just remember I didn't have to do that column by column, column 1, 2, 3. I can select more than one column at the same time. So I'm going to multi-select a range of cells. Okay, how do we do that? Do you remember how do you multi-select? What do we press on the keyboard to select more than one thing? Do you remember? Control key, right? These ones and these ones, sorry about that, not the numbers. I want the name of the cities as well as October, November, December to look the same. So we can make this maybe heading 4 style. So you'll see that we have a whole lot of styles that you can choose from. You don't even have to use the predefined ones. You can play around with font formatting if you want to. Okay. And then on the numbers, I'm going to select B4 to E4. Notice that we have B4 and then F4, D4 will be in here. So with E4 to E4, we're going to change this to an accounting number format. You can get that from a right click, which is a longer way of doing it, and then say format cells, and then go to your numbers. You can change from accounting from there, but you don't have to go that far if you don't want a right click. You can just use the numbers there. We're talking about number formatting. So this is a cell formatting, styles, and then number formatting. I can just click there and change that from accounting. If you click on the arrow there, that icon, it gives you the dialog box. It's the same way, the way we got from right click format cells. I just think a right click with this one, it's a longer way. So this allows you to change the symbol. If you don't want to make use of a rand, you want to change to $1, and you can even decide how many decimals after a comma do you want. Okay, we'll stick with 2. You can change decimals also from here. You can decrease the decimals or increase them. Okay, 2 is fine. So that's how we play around with our number formatting. And then I'm going to select B5 to E7. B5, not E, I don't have an E, to D7. So that means everything from here to there, okay, including the numbers in between. B5, E7, left click once and then drag to D7. If you struggle with selection again, what are you going to do? You're just going to go type it in there, right? I want B5 to D7 and then enter. Then it will select it for me. I will just go for a number. Okay. And then total style, we're going to apply that to B8 up to D8. And then we can change the cell style to total. Okay. And then before I leave there, another thing that you can do is what we call cell borders. That's one of the questions again you will get. So if I give you a question and I say, put borders around cells B4 to D7. So the question just said around the cells, right? On the font formatting, there are the borders. So you're going to click them and say more borders, okay? If the question says around, you're just going to do an outline, okay? You'll see that I have many cells. It's a cell B4, cell C4, D4. But I don't want all the cells to be bordered. Rather, I just want one border around all of them at the same time. And then you will see that there is a border around. But another question can now say put borders. Let's see a print preview of this. So there is that border. Okay, so with the same cells, now if the question says around all cells, so remember now I want each and every cell to have its own border, not just a line surrounding all the cells. So we go to the same place. If the question says around all, it's going to be both outline as inside. Okay, and then you will see that each cell now has a border. Okay, now when you get a question like that on a practical or a test, you check for the word all. If it's around cells, that is the outline. If it says around all, then it's outline and inside. We get that, right? Okay. And then on print preview, we can play around with printing. This is what we call a portrait view. Portrait is when a page is like this, and this would be a landscape. So we can change it from portrait to a landscape, and then it will look like that. And then you'll see that it looks weird when that thing is just on the left corner, because this is quite small, right? We can change the page setup. Okay, so on the margins, remember we had margins on Word, right? That's where we decide top, left, right, and center. That's where we do them with Excel. And then we can also center this page horizontally. You'll see that that text is going to move from the left-hand side and it will come to the center. We can even do it vertically, but I don't see why anyone would do that. It looks weird. Okay, and then what else can we do? But what if now this has a lot of columns and then they overlap? And then it has a lot of rows, they overlap, but you want everything to fit in one page. When you print it, everything should just be in one page. You can do that on the scaling there. Okay? You can say fit this on one page. Or you can tell it that, okay, leave the rows alone. It's okay, I can have many rows, but when it comes to columns, I want all the columns to be fit in one page. Because with the columns, if they overlap, then it looks weird. You'll even have some pages that are just showing a part at the end. That would be a column that cut. So you can control that over here. Right. So that is the printing. So spelling. Let me create spelling errors. Okay, remember if you had spelling errors with Word, it would warn you. That book will immediately have a course showing you, or you would have this underlined in red. And then immediately you will know I'm having spelling and grammar errors. But with Excel, you'll see that feature is not there. So it is up to you when you've typed a lot of things to go do your spelling before you print or send this to anyone. Okay? But I want to do a spell check of the entire workbook. How do I make sure that I select all the cells of this workbook? I'm going to do that by clicking on that triangle on top there. The triangle between row 1 and column A. If you click on it, it selects all the cells. So if I do that and I do spell check, then it's going to go on all the cells. Okay. So then review, spelling. It did pick up salesperson, and then we can change that. New, it's not now, I wanted a new, change, and then Virginia. That is that one, and then change. When it's done, it will tell you that it's finished. Okay, just remember, unlike Word, Excel is not going to show you. It won't be visual that you have spelling and grammar errors. So it is up to you after typing to go and do a spell check. And what's recommended with doing spell check? To select all cells. And then how do I select all cells? That triangle between 1 and A. And then another thing that I didn't show you is that you can also auto fit. Okay, with auto fit, that's when you want this to automatically just decide on a column width, but that is enough to make everything visible. You can do that when you get there. Instead of dragging left to the right, you double click. Okay, when you're on A and B, or you can also just select column A, go to your format, and say auto fit column width. So it will make sure that the column width of A is wide enough so that everything is visible. Okay, that is another quick way. Here, it was a text wrap. That's when you want, rather than doing this, let's say you typed a long thing and then now it's long. It can be short. Let's say all the column width are equal then. And then when you say text wrap, it will wrap it and still make sure that everything is visible. So that is a text wrapping. So now let's do these calculations. Okay, first I want, okay, the totals here. We're going to calculate the retail value. The total retail value is the quantity on hand multiplied by retail price. So that means, how do I start? I'm going to perform a calculation. Equal sign, right? Is there a need for me to say now 2226 multiplied by 1999? I'm going to cell reference, right? So I will click there and then say multiply, that is an asterisk, by 1999 and say enter. And then now, is there a need for me to go do them cell by cell? No need at all, right? I can just go and do a fill handle. And then it will know that it has to take this one, multiply by that one, this by that by that. Now you're going to see a disadvantage of that now, the fill handle. So now I want the percentage. I want to know the percentage of the antenna signal out of total 192. I want to know the percentage of the car power port adapter over that total. So obviously to get the percentages now of all these 4 items, they all share the same total. We agree, right? So to get a percentage equal sign, we know that we take the number divided by the total, which is E5 divided by E9. And then we say enter. Okay, let me just remove this and make it just the number. Okay, and then how would we make this a percentage? We will make that a percentage by multiplying by 100. We will now go and say multiply this by 100. It will make it to you by a percentage, but there's no need for that. Okay. In Excel, on the number formatting, when you click on percentage style, it multiplies it in for you with 100 and even puts the percentage sign on the right hand side. So, but now notice, remember, we don't do calculations per cell because we make use of a fill handle, right? I'm going to autofill this to there, but now we get an error. Why? So Excel, the first one that I'm copying from, I'm copying a formula E5 divided by E9. What do you think it's going to do now on F6? It's going to do E6 divided by E10. So it's following a certain pattern, right? It doesn't know that it has to use the same denominator for everything. The pattern now for it, as soon as I autofill it, is to take E6 to E10. But I didn't want anything in E10. There isn't a number in E10, it's a 0. So we are dividing by a 0, hence it says hashtag division by 0. And then in here, obviously, then it's going to take E7 by E11. I don't want that, okay? What I want is for it to change the numerators, but keep E9 being E9. So we want E9 fixed. We call this absolute cell reference, okay? And then on the questions, I will say use absolute cell referencing if necessary. Obviously, I wouldn't mention that long thing on a question unless if you have to do it. But as soon as you get a division by 0, then you know I skipped some step. On your keyboard, absolute cell referencing is done by the key F4, okay? Do notice I'm not talking about the letter F and number 4 separately. On top of your keyboard, we have escape, ESC as the first key. And the very next one is F1, F2, F3, that F4. That's what you're going to use to absolute cell reference. You're getting something fixed. What do I want fixed? I want E9 to be fixed. So I'm going to put an insertion point anywhere on E9. And then I'm going to press F4. Then you'll notice dollar signs. So it's no longer just normal E9, it's $E, $9. And then enter. If I now go and autofill that, you will notice we no longer have an error. It now takes E6 divided by E9, and then E7 divided by E9, E8 divided by E9. Okay, let's say equal sign. Okay, equal. I will create a 2 here. And then in this cell, we're going to say equal sign. Let's say I want this multiplied by that 2 there. Okay, remember, if I do this, some of them are going to be zeros, because now it assumes that I want this multiplied by that, and it's a 0 in there. And in mathematics, if you multiply by 0, you get a 0. And then it also assumes that I want that multiplied by this cell. How do I keep that 2 fixed? 2 is in I5. I will go anywhere on that I5 and press F4. If I now autofill this, it multiplies all the numbers by I5, which is that number 2 there. Just remember what we just did, we call absolute cell referencing. Okay. You will not get a practical or a test that doesn't have that question. Okay. And then how do we go about deleting a column or a row? Very easy. I don't want that column B3. And then notice again, selecting this, I didn't select row 3, right? Column 3, sorry. I just selected a range of cells from B4 up to B26. If I want to select the entire column B, I have to click on the letter B, not selecting. Okay. And then when I get there, I'm going to right click and say delete, and then that column will disappear. You will notice if I come here and do this, and then we say delete, the values inside cells disappear. But if I go on E, right click, delete, the entire column disappears. Okay. And then row, same story. I can insert a row above that row 4 by saying right click, insert, and you will notice that there's a new row there. And then the same with columns. If I want a new column before column D, right click on D, insert, and then there will be a column before it. Okay. So deleting and inserting was the same way as in tables when we were doing your weight. Okay, we did all the functions. So what if now I want an average of the retail prices? Tell me what to do. I want an average of the retail prices, making use of a function. What should I do? Equal sign. Do you want me to type it or use a ribbon? Okay, ribbon, average. It didn't pick it up. Average. I want the average of retail price. What do I then do? What am I going to select? Give me column. Column C. So I want these retail prices. So many of them. Okay, there we have it. It's an average. The median, can just say equal sign median. I will double click. What was the cell range? C 11 up to C75. You really saw that? Okay. There we have an average. Lowest price, what function is that? Minimum, right? And then we can say equal sign min. There's a min, and then it was C11 to 75, enter. And the highest one is going to be maximum. So I'm sure you now are aware that my personal preference is equal sign typing it in. And then C75. There we are. Okay, so that was easy. And then what else can we do? I wonder if I can show that here. Okay, What happens then when we get hashtags there? It doesn't mean there's something wrong with your Excel. You can see in the formula bar, there's nothing wrong with the formula. Again, it just means that the number width is smaller than the column width. So what you have to do when you get those hashtags, you just resize, make it look bigger, and then your numbers will be visible. So just look now, I have data in sheet 1 and I have data in sheet 2. Okay, and then with this one, we're going to start by renaming. I want to rename that sheet 1 to be called online sales, same way you would rename on Word, a file or folder. I'm going to right click and say rename, and this will call online sales. Okay, this one is not difficult. That's not a mark to lose really. Just make sure that your spelling is correct. And then we can also change the color of this tab by saying right click, tab color, and then we give it that color. And then sheet 2, we're going to rename, right click, rename. This one will be in-store sales. And also give it a different color, right click, tab color, let's give it a yellow. So that was too easy. Okay. And then we're going to copy now. Copy and paste still works the same way. I want the values on A. But if I wanted to copy this now to in-store sales, okay, I can go say, select that, and then say copy, go to in-store sheets, right click, paste, or just do a paste from there. But there's no need for copying and pasting that way. Since I know that Excel is smart and it can cell reference, remember if I say equal sign accessories, accessories will come in there. So that's what I'm going to do rather than saying copy and paste. Okay, so I'm in store. What I want in store is that day up to Saturday. Okay, so I will go to A4. How do I cell reference? Same way with calculation, equal sign. What do I want to reference? Some cell in online sales. So I'm going to go to online sales. Notice immediately that I have both tabs activated. So it's aware that I'm working in both cells. Okay, and then you will see that it's referencing online sales worksheet. And then if I select on A4, it's referencing online sales cell A4. If I say enter on the keyboard, now on in-store, I have day, which was there. Okay, and then it will follow the pattern, obviously. So if now I want to autofill, it's going to notice that I took a value in A4 from online sales. So if I autofill down, it's going to take that pattern that I want all the values underneath. I can just do an autofill and then it will come and copy them. You'll see that it took a value from online sales from cell A5, went to online sales, took A6. So there's no need again to go to one cell, copy, and then the other one paste. I can say equal sign. I want some value in online sales tab. I go there on that worksheet, which value I want C11. So notices, and then when I say enter, it puts that value in there. Okay, so that's how we reference a cell from another worksheet. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So you will remember in Word when I ask you to make use of a format painter in order to copy formatting, that means make the two different text or even more than two to look exactly the same. So if one is bold, all of them should be bold. If one is size 13, all of them should be size 13. So I'm going to type something. Let's type Masabata in A15. Okay. So then comes a question that says, copy the formatting from A3 to A15. So you will get a student that does this. They always remember that that fill handle is for copying. Then they go to the fill handle, left click, hold, and autofill down to A15. So the question is not asking you to copy and paste as of March 31, from 31 up to A31. I'm saying copy formatting. So that means when you copy formatting, I'm telling you that I want the value in A3 and A15 to look exactly the same. Are we clear? Okay. You will see that in A3 we have size 13 and then there's some bold there. Then there's heading 2 cell style. So I want A15 to look the same. So you're going to go to A3 and we know that Format Painter copies formatting. So we're going to click on it, just like in Word, your insertion point or your mouse cursor will carry a paintbrush. And then while that is still highlighted, we're going to go and click on A15. And immediately A15 also looks like A3. It now is also bolded. It has size 13, heading 2 cell style, and then it also is also meshed and centered. So it just made A15 to look the same as A3. Okay. That is it with your syllabus. There's a lot more to go with Excel. It's quite broad and it has the most beautiful functions ever. If you're going to do advanced computer literacy when you're doing your first year in mainstream, I think you will fall in love with Excel.